Hi and welcome. I'm Corey Kell, and this is part two of some big questions you may ask. This is the Big 10 questions. This is the second part of a two-part presentation. I'm creator of FlatEarthIntel.com, and with that, let's get started. Question 6, what convinced you the Earth was flat? In other words, it's one thing to say the Earth is flat or a sphere. It's another thing to actually know how to test it and test it correctly, using the sun as in my opinion, the best methodology. Operation Resolute Time, I conducted testing on both sides of the terrestrial Earth. Operation Resolute Time, when I tested vertical angle or height of the sun in the sky. Conducted 87 tests, 51 failed for the globe model with a 58% failure rate. And this was done at high altitude, over 5,000 feet. So this was a major failure in vertical angle. And this kind of led back into, I had a science professor of science ask me, he goes, what globe proofs did you check? And I said, well, vertical angle. And I think it caught him off guard. I don't think he was ready for it. So again, something that mainstream science doesn't use because I think they know there's issues with it, and they're just not taught it. Here are some of the table from Operation Resolute Time. Some major failures out of tolerance over 11, 9, 19, 26, 15, and 13. So those are some of the most significant readings. And it's just the sun just doesn't want to cooperate with the globe grid, and it moves at different speeds. And again, it just doesn't want to cooperate with the current globe grid. It's off by about 15 degrees. And when you compare the different grids from the flat Earth to the globe model, and I had a video I covered that I talked about that, but 15 degrees is quite a bit. So what you'll see, these vertical angle readings, a lot of them are 5 degrees, but you have to remember this is high elevation, and elevation's above sea level. So for the 45 degree sector test, 45 degrees at sea level. So you're talking an additional out of tolerance if you're above sea level. So you're looking at right around 15 degrees. So that's quite a bit. Operation North American Sun, did testing over in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I wanted to see the effects it would have on the other side of the terrestrial Earth, closer to sea level, right around 190 feet above sea level, but with a heavy declination, negative 9 degrees west declination. Wanted to see how that would affect, and again, massive failure for the globe model. Did 47 tests over a 3-year period, 25 failures, 53% failure rate. And this is during the summer sun season. Out of tolerance readings anywhere from 16, 17 to 19 degrees, almost 20 degrees. And again, huge problem for the globe. But you have to remember, during this testing, the flat Earth model passed all testing by 100%. So your model has to pass by 100%. So if you're failing over half the test, that's a huge failure for a model. And the globe just can't pass that test. So again, that was what sold me on the flat Earth model. Is there anything bigger than flat Earth with regards to what we live in? I think probably, in my opinion, probably only one thing greater, and that's simulation theory. And flat Earth kind of gets you to that doorstep. It gets you to that doorway. And for a lot of folks, that's a pretty big step. So if you're looking at the comparison between flat Earth and simulation, that step is about 4 times as great. So, but that flat Earth will get you to that doorway once you get there. And science conducted a test called the double slit experiment, and what they found out shooting these electrons through these slits, they found out, well, once they recorded it, it acted differently. So it kind of freaked them out, and they just once they conducted that experiment, they just dropped it like a hot rock. They didn't want anything to do with it. And I talked to a professor of science about simulation, and just didn't really have any opinion on it. Kind of said it was kind of a bunch of gobbledygook, and I can understand why, because it doesn't fall in line with the globe model and the Big Bang Theory and theory of evolution. It goes goes down a different road, and they just don't want to do that. The Matrix, And most people remember the Matrix that came out. That was heavy in simulation. The red pill, blue pill, what you're actually going through. Really great series. ORT, as I said, did it for me, testing at high elevation, then comparing it to lower elevation. That difference really was a seller for me as far as simulation theory. Military science extensive use, and it does heavy use of simulation in military science through war games, simulation exercises, tabletop exercises, situational training exercises. It's the best way to learn. So it's something that the military has kind of learned over the past century. You want to practice and prepare before you go into a wartime situation. This leads into creation and soul pairing simulation. In other words, what's the best way if I create you, what's the best way I can teach you? I'm going to put you into simulation. In other words, I'm going to put you on a sandbox I call Earth, place called Earth. I'm going to put you through a series of trials and tribulations, problem solving, critical thinking. You're going to have to develop those skills because you're going to be exposed to sciences, cosmologies, religion, love, war, peace, family, living alone, living together. Again, but you're going to have to go through all that. You can't just say, well, you can't just check the block. You're going to have to go through it. And I think that's the best way I can teach you is if I put you in if you're put into a simulation. And I think that's the best methodology. Again, that's what simulation theory. Question 8, has any other country performed your test? In other words, the 45-degree sector test using the sun? And if so, what were the results? Russia, very early on, they conducted the 45-degree sector test and resulted in 2 rings, 45 and 50 degrees. If you're doing the 45-degree sector test, anything over 45 is a fail. So they kudos to the Russians. They looked into it, did the testing, and again, testing failing around the world for the globe model. Question 9, why use the sun to test Earth's shape? Probably one of the bigger questions. The onus is on the globe because it's the model of the day. The heliocentric model is the model of the day. So when we look at using the sun is the center celestial body in that heliocentric model, having all the planets and Earth orbiting around it. So you'd want to use that. You want to use that object, the sun, to verify vertical angle. So in doing that, if you're a center object, that's ideal. It doesn't get any better than that. Earth's elliptic maintains the sun at 90 degrees. It's a huge problem for that model. And I think why they put the elliptic in at its angle, because they avoid talking about the 90 degrees. Because once if you put the sun or an object at 90 degrees, you're going to be able to put it in a surveyed triangle, and then your distance, you just can't say it's great distance because it's just not going to work. That would be like saying all surveyed plots are incorrect on Earth. You know, the house that you live in, the land that you have, the buildings that are all done by a survey are all incorrect, and it just isn't. And that's a huge problem because you can put the sun very close, very relative to what we're living on, a flat Earth. Testing in the summer sun season. Very definitive because the sun's at its closest point in apex to the test site or the observer during testing. So this means that the distance can't be camouflaged, that curve can't be camouflaged by distance. So distance can kind of help it, but once that sun gets really closer in, it can't be camouflaged. In other words, it's going to reveal whether you're on a flat or a curved surface. And that's showtime during the summer sun season. So another huge problem. Using the sun is the answer. And this also goes into the model's orbital mechanics. You know, the directional azimuths work for the heliocentric model, but the vertical angle height of the sun doesn't. It's out of tolerance. So, and that's a major problem for that model. And what that does, if your vertical angle, your sun height is wrong or the wrong position in the sky, that means your orbital mechanics will fail. So failure in orbital mechanics and also the sun's position in the sky seasonally is out of place, or it's out of position. So huge problems with that model. That means that the Earth isn't orbiting the sun, but rather the sun is orbiting you. So the sun is orbiting over a flat Earth. And here we see the outer tolerance. This is in the northern hemisphere where I did testing. This red zone is all failure, all the way from May on through August. It failed. So that's a huge problem. And that area is all out of tolerance. The sun and Earth relationship is out of position. If testing was to be done in the southern hemisphere, you have to remember there may be greater landmass down in the south, because if the Earth is actually flat, you may get different readings, but projected could be another problem there. But something we need to understand. Again, just means that the sun is orbiting over the top of the flat Earth. Question 10, you mentioned the use of military science as a part of the process. What would military science, why wouldn't they come out and say the Earth is flat? And again, military science recognizes or understands the huge problem it creates within the civilization, meaning the current belief system in place. Change will occur, but as a civilization becomes more aware of the major issues and problems with the heliocentric model. In other words, why it doesn't work. So it takes time. It's not something you want to, because there's a shock factor involved with all that. And again, there's a lot of issues with, especially when you talk about this subject. It's a very polarizing subject, but change will come about eventually as a civilization wakes up and they become more knowledgeable about the Earth that they live on. In the meantime, military science does the safest thing it can. It makes it a non-factor, especially in its calculations for firing solutions and stuff like that. It just doesn't apply the globe's curve or the Earth's spin. And that's the safest thing it can do for right now. These are some of the my big 10 questions that I thought of, and some folks may ask. Again, you may have others. Feel free to email me. You can reach out to me at coryifish@gmail.com or on the website at flatearthintel.com. Again, this concludes this two-part presentation. Thanks for watching.